Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start our day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of a special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps Virtual Conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life that God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose. Because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and the generations to come. So, friends, grab your cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready for an uplifting conversation as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our guest today, and that is Janelle Martin. Hi, Janelle. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast.
Hi, Angelina. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So, Janelle, I know a little bit about you through your bio. Why don't you share and introduce to yourself to our audience?
Okay. Well, I'm a mom. I live north of Houston, Texas, so a suburb of giant city, Houston. My business is in Houston, and I've been in my house for 20 plus years, raised my children there, and I went through a lot with my kids, divorced and parental alienation, if you've ever heard of that. And my daughter ended up addicted to drugs in high school. So we walked through discovering drug use, and I wasn't aware of all the pain she was actually carrying. And so treatment, recovery, all of that. So that's why I'm here today. But also out of that experience, my life completely changed after going through recovery with her. I recently, about a year and a half ago now, graduated with my master's degree. I became a licensed counselor. I started a private practice, a holistic mental health private practice about 4 years ago. She's been sober now 6.5 years. So
Wow.
after all of this, my whole life just changed completely. And I run a successful business, a little bit different. I'm holistic, so I'm trying to get people off medications or be able to avoid them, and heal in a more natural way without substances, since I came from a substance use background and never said I'd be a counselor, but here I am and I'm doing that too. And I just actually got my doctorate in functional medicine. So I
Wow.
just keep going and adding. And my daughter actually joined my practice 3 years ago.
How wonderful and so accomplished. Wow. Congratulations on all those things, especially your daughter joining your purpose and calling. I love that. I love that. Well, before we get into our conversation today, I want to ask you just a little icebreaker. What is your go-to morning drink?
Oh my gosh, I'm on the mushroom coffee bandwagon.
Yes.
So, I've tried a couple of them. There's one I've settled on, and they actually make a chai and the coffee, and I like to
Mhm,
mix those, and then I add some chocolate bone broth protein to it, and I make my own. It's kind of like it's breakfast, really. It's my coffee and a breakfast, and I love it.
mhm. I like the mushroom coffee. I've started to drink a little bit more of that, but it gives me such focus and it doesn't drain me like the caffeine does. Although I am a coffee drinker from time to time, and I say that, but more on the sweet side. I like more cream than coffee anyways. But I definitely can tell the difference because when my caffeine is out of my system, I definitely feel the drop in energy. So
Yep.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our conversation. My first question to you, Janelle, is what was the defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how was it impacting you at that time?
So finding out that my daughter was using drugs in high school was devastating, and I didn't really fully grasp it at the time, at least not initially. And so I think that was a defining moment. My life changed when I finally came to terms with we are in crisis. I could lose my child, and and I mean that's a defining moment for any parent, I think. And so you start to you're working out of crisis mode. What do I need to do to help? How can I fix this? What resources are there out there? What I need to learn about this so that I know, I guess, better what to do about it. And that took a lot of time. We went through the discovery process and then trying to fix it on our own to treatment to recovery, all of that. And that was over the course of probably a couple of years. So I had a long transformation in there, but I dove into the 12 steps too, because that was a program that she was doing in her recovery. And the 12 steps was life changing for me as well. So every time I would read a book or talk to someone or go to a meeting or do something recovery related, it affected the way I lived my life from that moment on.
Mm. Wow, 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 wow. And I can just imagine, like, I'm a parent of three adult children, and to see them struggle, especially with addiction, because addiction is just this incredible mind disease. Um, we tend to say, oh, they're addicted to a certain type of drug or whatever it is, but it really is more mind. Would you not agree?
Brain disease.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I will challenge people to think of it this way too. Drugs is usually not the problem, it's the solution to the problem.
Mm,
The reason why people take a liking to using drugs is because it's numbing some kind of pain that they're in that they don't know how to feel, they don't want to feel, they don't know how to deal with. And
mhm,
so the drugs is their solution to it. And
mhm.
we can't get to the root of the problem until we get rid of the substances. So the idea of getting sober is just the first step in really healing.
Wow. And so what was life like for you during the time of finding out that your daughter's struggling through this? What did that look like?
Ugly. It was really ugly. For me, it was just I've never been so fearful in my whole life.
Mm,
And denial was my friend there for a long time, as it is for most of us, just trying to come to terms with like this could actually be happening. Um, so there was that aspect, but then also just watching the light go out of my child on a, an ongoing basis where she was this vibrant, athletic, wonderful child. And she's always wonderful. But as she got more into drug use, like, I mean, now I see it so much more clearly. At the time, though, it was like, what is happening to you? Like, we're not showering, we're not combing our hair, we're wearing baggy clothes, we're wearing drab, always like drab colors. It's like it was like she was folding in on herself and
mhm,
just kind of fading away in front of my eyes. And that was really terrifying to see because you feel helpless as a parent. And even when you do figure out what's going on, I can tell her to stop using drugs, but that doesn't solve the problem and that doesn't fix it. So we did try that,
mhm.
um, but it was really difficult, really difficult. And I ended up kicking her out in the middle of her
Yeah.
senior year and sending her to live with her dad, who was
Mhm,
kind of the catalyst to a lot of her pain.
mhm.
And not kind of, he really was. And I outline that in my book. Um, so, that was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life
Mhm.
is just I sent her to Arizona. So I'm in Texas and so she went to Arizona and I just said you can't because you can't live here if you're using drugs. I'm not okay with
Yeah.
it. And she wasn't going to stop.
Wow.
Mhm.
And what was that like? You like she's
Horrible.
yeah, like a mother, just like
Yeah.
you're sending your daughter away.
Yep.
So I just what was the dialogue for you just now that you're in this home and you're like, okay, she's gone. What were you struggling with?
Grief, heavy grief.
Mhm,
He had already My ex-husband had already tainted our son, and he tried to do both children to turn them against me. He had succeeded with my son, who was 2 years older. So I'd already lost him. He's alive, but I already lost him. I hadn't heard from
yeah.
him in at least a year at that point. So there was one kid down, and now I have this one who has a serious problem, and she's telling me she's not going to stop. And so I send her to live with her dad who had already taken one child from me. So I really felt like I just lost both of my children at that time. And it was horrifically painful for me. You always try to justify your decisions. So I always looked to my friends and my family and people to help me, make the decision, but also like continually justify it. Like it's okay not to allow somebody to use drugs in my home. That is okay. But as a parent, it felt horrible. It felt like I was the worst person in the world, like who does this to their child?
Mhm.
But at the same time, after I went through a lot of treatment and recovery, I learned that that was probably the best thing that I could have done for her, but it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it as a parent.
Mm.
Not
Oh, I can just imagine the parental guilt, in that. So what was it? You mentioned some therapy and stuff. So what was it that helped you heal and kind of grow through this season?
biggest thing were parent meetings. So she went to a treatment center in Phoenix called the Pathway Program, and they have a very robust parent program
Mhm.
because they work with teens like 13ish, maybe 14, all the way up through early adulthood, so into the 20s. So, but they have a parent program that is a life-saving, I think, for parents. So you get to be in a room, and for me, I wasn't in Arizona, but I was able to be there over the phone and then over video as they got better technically, because they'd never had anybody from out of state before me, I think.
Mhm.
But I religiously attended those meetings every week, and just being able to relate to and talk to other parents who were non-judgmental because they were walking the same nightmare
Yeah.
that we were, and seeing how their kids were doing, and what, hope is the biggest thing. Some of the kids were doing great. They'd been there a while, they've been sober for a year or two, and that felt like, okay, this is possible. Like we can probably do this. Other people have had to do it. We can do it. And then also learning like how not to enable your child and how to treat them like they're capable adults, because they are. And
Mhm.
they're very resourceful in getting their drugs. They can certainly be resourceful in positive things for their life too. So learning how to trust your child again, just relating to them differently. And then also focusing on me. Like I have my own life and my own purpose. She has hers. And it's not for me to tell her what her purpose is or try to control what she does with her life. If she were to choose to be a drug addict for the rest of her life, that is always her choice.
Mhm.
She can do that. There's not a lot that I can do to stop it, but I don't have to feed it.
Mm.
I don't have to have
And
her in it.
yeah, and that's and under coming to that realization and understanding, how empowering was that for you?
Wonderful. It takes a little bit of a load off. We're
Yeah.
always really connected to our children. We always want the best for them, and it's painful for us when they're
Mhm.
not doing well. I understand all of that. But you have to learn how to lovingly detach, because we all got to live our own lives. That's how we
Mhm.
got here. Nobody did this for me, and nobody did your life for you. You wanted to learn the lessons that you needed to learn, and you needed to do it your way. And so do our kids. And so, what's really empowering is learning to detach and go, okay, that's not mine. That is yours to deal with, and I'm going to let you do it. Sink or
Mhm.
swim, it's yours. I got my own stuff. I got to figure this out for me. And I'm
Yeah.
important too. Yes, I'm a parent and I love my child, but I'm important too. I have a purpose on this earth. God,
Mhm.
God didn't leave me here to or put me here just for my kids.
Yeah. And that's huge right there, because so much of our identity when we get married as women or become mothers gets wrapped up in
Yes.
being, serving in those roles. But we make it an identity rather than understanding it is a role that I'm playing in a particular season of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you highlighted that. So
Yeah.
speaking of purpose, your purpose, when did you begin to sense that there was something growing out of this situation?
Pretty early on.
Mhm.
Well, I guess maybe not early on, but by the time we had gotten her, not we, she had gotten sober and she'd been sober. Um, I guess she had been sober almost a year. She relapsed. So there's a relapse in there that happens quite frequently in trying to be sober. So um I had I had heard of something like God puts all these things in your path, and I fully believe it was he orchestrated all of it. So I had gone to a meeting at some point after I'd kicked her out, and I had learned that you could heal the brain through neurofeedback. I didn't know there was such a thing. I thought it was the most fascinating thing I'd ever seen, and I was like,
Mhm.
I didn't know you could do that. Like, how can you heal the brain? That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I was looking into trying to get trained to do it because I had had my previous degree was pre-med. So I was qualified to get trained to do it. And as I was literally about to do it, that's when we were really in crisis mode and my daughter ended up in treatment. And so I forgot actually about it because it was all about saving her and all
Mhm.
about what's happening with her. So when she was sober for about a year after her relapse, um, we had gotten hooked up with she'd moved home to Texas, and we had gotten hooked up with some local resources here and been a part of a community meeting. And we both had talked about our experience because it was about community, what the community could do maybe to help the crisis of drug addiction in the community. So we talked, and there happened to be somebody there who had started a nonprofit for people who were trying to recover,
Mhm.
and he had wanted to implement this brain healing technology, this new type of neurofeedback. And he came to talk to me after this little talk that we did. And I heard brain again. And I'm like, I want to do that. Like, how do I do that? That is the coolest thing. And he
Yeah.
didn't believe me, but I pestered him enough that he ended up hiring me and having me trained in microcurrent neurofeedback, which is what I
Mhm.
do now. That's the biggest part of my business. But so I ended up working for him. And then my daughter got to be my first client. And she was about 6 months sober for the second time when I got to treat her. And what the technology was just incredible in her healing, and her it kind of catapulted her forward into her recovery.
Yeah.
And so she got to experience that firsthand. And from there, I decided counseling would go really well with this. And I couldn't get any counselors that wanted to work with me. So I went back to school and I got my counseling license. And so since then, I've become even more holistic. So we have a natural health store in our office. And so I went back and I got my functional medicine doctorate. And so I just kind of keep blossoming out of this. And my favorite population are people who are trying to get sober, but I'll work with anyone.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
And what a blessing. Like to go, hey, I want to partner with counselors. There's none out there that want to do it. So you know what? I'm going to create it for myself because it's and I love it because sometimes we think everything is a cookie cutter situation, but it's not because we're individuals and no one person is alike. And so I love that this is the holistic side of things, and I love holistic healing. I really do.
Yeah.
Um, so you've done all of this transformation, you've got your doctorates and all these things. How much of that story shaped who you are today?
I think most of it,
Mhm.
I feel so much like I am in my calling. I love coming to work every day. You can see this is
Yeah.
my office. Like, it is my safe place, is where I love to be. My daughter joined my practice 3 years ago. She believes wholeheartedly in the mission of
Mhm.
getting rid of toxic substances. I mean, I almost killed her, and it's killing
Wow.
people now. And
Mhm.
so we just kind of took our experience and decided we're going to use it, and we're going to use it to help people. And then we're also going to tell our story because we want to give other people hope that you can make something out of this really tough experience. You can get to the other side. And we're not all perfect at it. And I can't tell you exactly how to do it, but I can tell you how we did it. And maybe something in our story resonates and will help other people out there do the same.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
So, Janelle, let's say someone's out there listening and they are in that situation you once were in when you were having to make a choice between, do I continue to allow my daughter to do these things, or do I put a boundary in place for not only her protection but my protection and make a tough choice? What advice would you give a person that is in that in between?
seek out a support group like Al-Anon or
Mhm.
PAL, which is Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. Those are your people, and those are the people that can help you if you're going to put that boundary in place, which you probably should. But they can help support you in that decision because it's never going to feel like the right thing to do. It's always going to feel counterintuitive to being a parent and helping my child and protecting my child. But it can and will save their life.
And I love that. And your story reminds me of a situation that I walked with my own daughter when she was 17 years old and in high school, but her situation was domestically violent,
Mm,
which relationships can be very addictive too, because you're
yeah,
addicted to the behaviors and just the gratification you get out of it.
yeah,
Um, and I had to make that tough choice too, where it was like, okay, I still had her younger brother in my home, and here she is, and I'm like, you know what? I need to be there for my son, and you just are going all over the place. You need to figure it out. So when I made that choice and put that boundary in place, it was hard, and I didn't realize how angry I was until she left. I was
mm,
so angry until the Lord got a hold of my spirit and he was like, "Look, you're trying to parent her like a child that is, you know, younger than a teen, where it's like, no, you have to do this and you can't do this, and you're no longer that parent," is what he told me. "You are the mentor, you are the guide, you are the security net, because she's gonna fall and she's gonna need you there."
yeah.
And when that was spoken to my spirit, I was like, oh, okay. But hearing that news, it freed me from the resentment and the anger. It helped me understand parenting. And we use that term tough love, but it really did help me understand that in my choice, I'm going to practice in compassion and grace. And she did. She returned home eventually.
Hey,
And there was reconciliation for sure. And I love her now. She's married, happily married, two babies.
oh,
So
that's
I'm a grandmother.
awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. But like your daughter joining you in the cause and being able to, help others as well, the two of you side by side in mission, I think that's beautiful. So, what does living,
Miracle.
yeah, what does living on purpose look like for you now?
Oh gosh, continuing to do what we do. I'm so in love with just people. I
Mhm.
love what we do, and I love how much I learn from each person that comes in, into my office and into our business. And we just try so hard to pour into people, but they pour into us too. And I can't imagine doing anything else. And I think that that is what God's purpose is for us, is to serve people and
Mhm.
let them serve us too. And I think there's this synergistic relationship that happens when whether I'm counseling them or doing brain healing with them or whatever we're doing, like it is really important to have that connection with people. And I think we do it really well. At least I feel like we do, and that is my purpose.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, as we get closer to wrapping up our conversation, I want to ask you a question of legacy and impact. If
Mm.
today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Loving people.
Mhm.
It's being here for so many and listening and loving them because I truly, truly do. And I think
Mhm.
that's the most important thing. You know, I still love my son, of course. He's not in my life. I love my daughter, despite all the things that, she put me through and that we went through
Yeah.
together, but we wouldn't be who we are today without those things. And so, so just I think love is the most important thing.
Mm. And what's funny in that, because we are created to love each other and be, and have that genuine happiness when we are our authentic selves, that's where adversity tries to break us,
Uh-huh.
is in the foundation of love, and tries to distort what that is. And so anybody listening out there, just understand that there is true unconditional love out there, and it really does stem from you learning about yourself and you're walking through your story and healing through it, so that you can engage back with who you truly are meant to be. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so let me
Nothing that
ask
can
you.
destroy you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, if you could leave maybe a bit of truth or a word of encouragement with someone listening today who's still trying to figure out their purpose, what would it be?
Um, I think be bold and just try
Mhm.
things, do the hard things, do the things that you're probably the most afraid of because that's probably what's holding you back. So just step out in faith and go for it. I mean, I didn't want to go back and get my master's degree at 51 years old, but I did it because I felt like I needed to be who
Mhm.
I needed to be for others. I needed to do that. And so it was terrifying and it was expensive and I had all the excuses not to do it, but
Yeah.
I did it anyway and I would never take it back. It was a wonderful experience. And that's what I would say is just go for it. Don't let fear stop you.
Mm. Words of wisdom, everybody. And so, Janelle, maybe somebody is out there listening and going, you know what? I have a story similar to hers, or I'm going through that same thing. And they were like, maybe I want to work with Janelle. How can they get in contact with you?
I have a website. It is www.tmcbrainhealthcenter.com if you want to work with me professionally. I also wrote a book about my journey. It is told from both my daughter and my perspectives. It's called Losing Her, Finding Us. It's got the big butterfly on the cover, so you can see that on Amazon. The website for that is ourbeautifulrecovery.com. So you can find out more about me there. And I think that the two websites, I think they reference each other. You can also find me on social media at The Mind Connection or Janelle Martin Author. That's my author page. And I hope you, if you're going through anything like what I've been through,
Mhm.
even if it's just a hard season with your kids, I think my book could be really helpful to any parent who's struggling with something with their kids. And also, it reads like a fiction book, so it is something that I'm hearing people can't put down, and it's really beneficial to hear from both perspectives so that you know what was going on with the parent and then also how the child was feeling and thinking and what their motivations were at the time too.
Mhm.
It really helps you maybe understand um, how we think about things differently than our
Mhm.
children.
Mm. I love it. I'm gonna order it on Amazon today for sure.
Thank you.
So, and I before I wrap up our show today, I want to ask because it's on your book cover and it's all around you in your office.
Yes.
What's the significance of the butterfly?
Well, it's also on my arm.
Okay.
So when my daughter got sober the second time, her relapse was pretty horrific. And the butterfly that's on my arm it's got blank wings and it's got colored wings. And this is in the book too. Is a painting that she painted after her relapse.
Mhm.
And we tattooed it on our arms when she got a full year sober a year later. And the butterfly signifies the transformation of our lives, both hers really and mine, but she painted it for her. The
Mhm.
blank wings were signify the pain that she felt and how she felt she was nothing
Mhm.
before getting sober and going through recovery. And then as she's gone through recovery and she's done all this healing, the color has come back into her wings and she feels like she is transformed and able to, nothing's stopping her basically. So the butterfly is our symbol of transformation because we've done that, we've been through it, and we understand it, and anybody can do it. Anybody can
Mhm.
become the butterfly.
I love it. Well, Janelle, I want to thank you for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that remind us purpose isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, growing through the things that we go through, and trusting that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So, friend, wherever you are today, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. Until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, and keep walking boldly into the life that God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.